Going live. It says this hangout is on the air. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of Wealth Building Plus Mastermind with Bob and Len. You want to say something, Bob? Hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob. Hey, hi, guys. Thanks for coming here and giving us your time here on a Thursday night. I know this is just a valuable time. Thank you so much for participating. We really appreciate that.
Cool. Hey, listen, before we jump into presentation, I just want to pick up the camera, and I'm going to give you folks, we're going to stare out my window for a minute. Isn't that gorgeous?
It looks kind of white. Oh, there, it looks better there. That looks nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it takes the camera a few seconds to figure out what it's doing.
Right.
But it's just a gorgeous evening out there. The sun is going down, the sky's pink. It's absolutely beautiful. One of the reasons I enjoy living down here, and etc. So we're going to launch into your finances and you tonight is the topic. And Bob, do you want to say anything about that before I just jump in?
Well, the thing, what I really love what we're doing, Len, is every single day, because I've taken this class about 4 times already, this 90-day wealth builder class. I went to his 3-day, T. Harv Ecker's 3-day a number of times, and that's what we're taking this from. Now we're putting more of our own stuff into it, but it's basically it's a step-by-step process. And if you want to create a new habit, you have to do something over and over and over again, and that's what we're doing here. 90 days. If you do something every single day for 90 days, you're going to create new thought processes, a new habit, new rituals. So that's what we're doing. So just stick with it, and if you continue to do it, your mindset is going to change towards finances and money and wealth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and one of the things we're going to do tonight is we're going to define. We're going to go through T. Harv Ecker's jar system, the bucket system for saving money. I'm going to define all those terms. We're going to go through it all. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hold up a book. There's 2 books here. There's The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. If you don't have this book, I'm going to recommend very strongly that you get it. And then the other book that I draw heavily from is the new Tony Robbins, Money, Master the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. And, that's a big book. It's over 600 books. But I'll tell you what, it is a phenomenal book.
It is a great book.
Really taken the bull by the horn and broken it down into simple terms that everybody can understand. And in the process of doing that, he's shown us a lot of pitfalls that we didn't know existed. For example, I'm going to give you some, as we move through the presentation tonight, I'm going on to PowerPoint in just a moment, but as we move through the presentation, I'm going to be drawing there'll be lots of comments and things where I'm going to be drawing from things that Tony is teaching in his book. So the core question in front of us is, do you want to retire ever? And what's it take to get there? And we're going to talk about a bunch of really interesting concepts tonight. So let me go to screen share. If you have any questions, throw them up in the chat. I'm going to go share the screen. Here we go. Hopefully you can see my screen. And I'm going to find my PowerPoint presentation.
Hey, Len, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Maybe mention that if somebody doesn't know, there's a chat thing up on the upper left-hand corner. They can join the chat if they click that. Okay,
cool. Yeah. If they don't know that, yes.
I know I see Rick is in there, but maybe some newer people don't know about that feature.
Right. Okay. So do I need to mention it again, or did you just mention
I think as long as they heard that, I guess we're good.
Okay, so tonight's talk is Money Mastery and You. My intention, as usual, is that the talk's going to take, I'm going to say it's going to be about 40-45 minutes. There'll be time for questions afterwards, Q&A, whatever you want to do. And so let's just jump in and rock and roll. First, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about money? And I'm going to do another one of my, close your eyes experiments for just a moment. Many of us grew up amidst negative money talk. So just for a moment, humor me, close your eyes and take about 15, 20, 30 seconds. What are your earliest thoughts and experiences with money? Go back into your childhood and recall what you were taught about money as a child. And I'm going to be quiet for just a few seconds. Okay, so what are your earliest perceptions about money? And sadly, the vast majority of us grew up in a negative money environment. We were told, we don't have enough. We can't afford that. What do you think I'm made of? Money? Money's the root of all evil. People with money did something shady to get it. Money doesn't grow on trees. One of the things my mother used to tell me, the reason her and my foster father, it wasn't my biological father, but my foster father argued incessantly, was when there's no money, love flies out the window. You're not a good money manager. My mother pounded that into my head. That was her excuse for taking all my money and managing to spend it for herself. So I, like many of you, grew up in a negative money environment. And the problem is, if any of those beliefs are still inside of you, you will never have any money. If you think money's dirty, if you think it's evil, if there's any even inkling of that kind of thought process going on subconsciously, because you may not even be aware of it, then you're never going to have any. You're going to struggle all your life. So one of the objectives of this 90-day workshop, as Bob said, is to change your beliefs about money and to instill more positive, supportive beliefs. Because unless we do that, once again, beating the dead horse, if you think money's dirty or evil, you ain't never going to have none. It's that simple. If you're struggling with money now, we may have to look back into your early training to see some of the reasons and some of the causes for that struggle. Now, I love this quote from Tennessee Williams. You can be young without money, but you can't be old without money. So one of the things we're going to look at as we move through tonight is, what does it take to retire? What do you got to have? How much money do you have in the bank? You're going to find an interesting fact that over almost 50% of Americans have no idea how much money they're going to need to retire. But they have this fantasy that they're going to get there somehow, someday. We'll look at that. You know, this may come as a surprise to you, but when Social Security was enacted, the life expectancy was 63 years, and Social Security started at 65. It was never intended that Social Security was going to support people for 10, 15, 20, 30 years into old age. It was never anticipated. Social Security was supposed to kick in. Maybe they lived a few years, but most people died. The life expectancy was lower than the Social Security age of today. Today, there's a 50% chance that among married couples, at least one spouse will live to age 92. There's a 25% chance that one spouse will live to age 97. We are closing in on a life expectancy of 100 years. If you think you're going to retire at 65 and live on Social Security, it's probably not going to happen. So we've got to work on this. For many people, the retirement plan is the keep on working plan. It's not realistic to finance a 30-year retirement with 30 years of work by putting aside 10% of your income for those 30 years. And the reality is, most people don't save any money at all, let alone 10%. Yet the number one fear of baby boomers is outliving their retirement. Interestingly enough, 48% of Americans haven't even calculated how much they're going to need to retire. We're going to do that in a couple minutes. And roughly 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every day. And about half of America's private sector workforce is covered by any kind of retirement plan at all. And most of those are do-it-yourself, take all the risk models. The reality is America's in trouble. And the message is, you can't count on Social Security. You just simply can't do it. It's not going to sustain you long into retirement. So here's an interesting calculation. Now you can go to Google and you can pull up all kinds of models for retirement income, but let's just take a look at one scenario. You're 35 years old now and you're going to retire at 67 and you've saved $100,000 already. And you're saving 15% of your income every year. Your income's $55,000 a year. If you do that, then you'll have $1.7 million when it's time for you to retire. But here's the problem. Very few people have $100,000 already saved. Most people are older than 35. Most people aren't putting 15% of their income away. And that $1.7 million is a realistic number. That's approximately what you need to retire. In order to retire, you're going to need something of order $1 million in the bank. Now, when I say in the bank, that doesn't mean cash in your savings account. It means in a retirement plan, in a 401k. It means if you have a work-sponsored retirement, whatever. It means a total of order of $1 million. It might be a little less, it might be a little more, depending, and I'll show you in a few minutes why that's all true. But if you think about it, just for a second, let me come off the slideshow for just a second and show you this little calculation. Let's say that we start with $1 million. And let's say we're going to take $10,000 a month out of our $1 million. How long is it going to last? Well, $10,000 a month is $120,000 a year. That $1 million is going to last us about 8 years, and it's gone. Now, if we only take $5,000 a month out, it'll last longer, 16 years. And you can say to me, well, Len, wait a minute, but that money's earning interest while it's in there. Yeah, it's earning interest, but it's not earning that much interest. Maybe it's earning 5%, maybe it's earning 10% at most, at best. It's not earning that much. So the interest is going to help this a little bit, but it doesn't change the scenario.
Maybe.
Well, that's another topic. I know, Bob. So,
okay,
go ahead.
Well, I mean, because you could have losses too, and plus, did you calculate taxes?
No. I mean, that's just a pure, simple,
Right.
That's just a pure, simple minded. The point I want to make is that you need $1 million to retire, period. It might be 2 million, it could be 5, it might be a half, but it's of that order. It's not 100,000 and it's not 10 million. It's of that order. So how are you going to get it? So we're going to talk about some strategies in a little bit. Let's keep moving on. I want to throw this quote in there. It's from Noah St. John. I love it, from his book, The Secret Code of Success. The bottom line is, if you want to be rich, you can't be normal. People making millions of dollars every year are not normal, because by definition, normal equals not very successful. And that's the truth in our society. Is the majority of the population happy and rich? Nope. Therefore, if you want to be happy and rich, you must do things that normal people either don't do or won't do. One of the things that, quote, normal people don't do is they don't save much. But we're going to move on. I'm going to give you a link here. We'll put the PowerPoint presentation in the group so that you can get these links. I don't expect you to copy it, Don. I'm going to teach you now the T. Harv Eker, JARS money management system. First, the key to success, the key between rich and poor people or middle-class people, is the ability to manage money. Rich people are excellent money managers, and poor or middle-class people are less savvy when it comes to managing their money. Now, remember, when we do our affirmations every morning, one of our affirmations is, I am an excellent money manager. So we're trying to instill into our subconscious and conscious mind the concept that we have to manage our money. And of course, there are many other distinctions that set the rich, poor, and middle class apart. That's just one of them. So the most important part of money managing is separating your income into different accounts for specific purposes. And I'm going to outline now the various accounts for the so-called JARS system, as well as the percent breakdown that goes in each one. Now, the JARS system is T. Harv Eker's. It's not the only. There are lots of books and strategies out there called buckets of money and things like that, but they all boil down to very similar concepts. You gotta put your money into buckets. So let's look at the buckets. In our early mornings, we've talked about the financial freedom account. What we really ultimately want to be doing is putting 10% of our money into our financial freedom account. I'm going to define each one of these accounts in more detail, but we have a long-term savings for spending account that gets 10% of our money. We have an educational account that gets 10%, a necessities account that gets 55%, a play account that gets 10%, and a giving account that gets 5%, and all that adds up to 100% of our money. So what are these different accounts? Let's take the financial freedom account. In the ideal world, 10% of your income goes into the financial freedom account, and you never, never, ever spend that money. It goes into your FFA and it stays there. It is the golden goose that's going to lay the golden eggs in your retirement years. You can spend the interest if you choose to, but it's recommended that you don't do that because compound interest is really a pretty powerful force. We'll look at compound interest in a few minutes, but keep the interest inside your financial freedom account to grow your capital and interest. Think of your financial freedom account as the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. If you spend the money, you're killing your goose, and you will not have any money to retire with. Now, we've been encouraging you to put money in your financial freedom account every day, and I'm going to encourage you to continue to do that. Now, some of you, all of you, may not be in a position where you're comfortable putting 10% in right now. That's the goal. We want to get you there. If you can't put in 10%, put in whatever you can, whatever you're comfortable with. Pick a number. Is it $1 a day? Even if it's a penny a day. And the reason is to develop the habit. We want to get you into the habit of saving money for retirement. And if you haven't done any to date, it's time to start. So once again, when do you spend the money in your financial freedom account? Never. Time to spend the money is never. When you stop working, you get to spend the eggs. But if you spend the goose, well, you know the story of the golden goose. The next account is your long-term savings for spending account. It gets 10% of your money. What is a long-term savings for spending? It's an account that you're using to save for major things like your children's education, buying a new house, contingency funds. You're putting 10% of your money into it every month. And you're allowed to spend that money for big items, big ticket items, 10%. Next, your education account, 10%. Put 10% into your education account whenever you receive money. You can use it for self-education, for books, seminars, events, for buying courses. Take this quote from Ben Franklin: if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. So 10% of your money goes into your education account. And I know, I can hear it through the internet right now. Some of you are sitting down there going, God, this guy's smoking some really good stuff. It ain't happening. Trust me, this is the goal. I know that many of us aren't there, but this is where we want to try to move ourselves to over a period of time. It may not happen in 90 days. It may take a while, but this is the goal. Necessities, 55%. You want to live on 55% of your income. And I hear it now. I'm already living on 110% of my income. Yeah. You want to try to simplify your lifestyle. You want to look at ways that maybe you can cut back on things. Do you really have to have your hair done every week? Can you cut out the pedicures? I don't know. What are some things that you can do to try to simplify your lifestyle so that you can get to where you're living on less than 100% of the money coming in? So 55% of the money goes into your necessities account, and that's the account that pays the bills. It pays the house payment, the car payment, the electricity, the clothing, etc. The play account gets 10%, and you're allowed to spend. In fact, it's mandatory that you spend your play account every month. The key is to blow this play money every month so that you'll feel good about having money and spending it. This should be guilt-free. You spend your 10% every month. And finally, your giving account, 5%. And I know tithing is recommended to be 10% for folks that are religious. Maybe this number should be 10%. These percentages are not cast in concrete. These are what T. Harv Eker recommends. So your 5% account is for charities. It's for your church. It's for whatever you're donating to. So that's your JARS system. And I'm going to go back to the first slide here in this system. So the recommendation is that you take your money when it comes in every month and split it into these categories and budget for your various activities. Now, if you're not used to budgeting, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. This is the T. Harv Eker JARS system. And if there's any important message in this system right now, it's that in order for you to get to where you want to go to in your life, to get to retirement, to get to a point where maybe you're going to have some money to retire, you need to begin to budget now. And of course, the younger you are, the easier it is going to be. And we'll look at that in a minute in more detail. But at the very minimum, the financial freedom account wants to have some attention every day. Because if you don't pay attention to that account, guess what? You're going to be 70 years old going, oh my God, now what do I do? So let me ask you a question. Do you know where your money goes every month? A lot of people don't. How can you get a handle on what you are spending, where your money goes? Well, one recommendation is to carry around a small notebook and for 1 month, record every transaction, no matter how small it is. You spend a nickel on a pack of chewing gum. I have no idea how much chewing gum costs these days. Maybe it costs more than a nickel. It probably does. I don't buy chewing gum. But every transaction, no matter how small it is, write it down in your little book. Carry this little book in your pocket with a pencil and write it down. Get a handle on where you're spending your money at. You may be surprised. You may be spending money in a lot of areas that you could reasonably cut out and begin to divert that money toward your financial freedom account. So these are some things that you can do. I'm going to come off the slideshow now for a moment, and I'm going to put up a Excel spreadsheet again. Here's a household budget worksheet. If you don't have a household budget, make one. This sheet comes directly off the internet. All you have to do is go out to the internet and Google household budget, and you'll find tons and tons and tons of stuff. But this is a relatively simple sheet where you can write down your paychecks and the money you've got coming in, and then you record all of your expenses. I'll put this sheet out in the group. I've actually done the arithmetic on this sheet. The sheet works arithmetically correctly. So if you put your income in and you put expenses in these various categories into the sheet, it will come down and it will calculate your monthly total income, your total expenses, and it will compute the difference for you. So the arithmetic is already done for you. It's a very simple sheet. And if you can use it to help you get a handle on where you're spending your money and where you can maybe make some adjustments, again, I'll put it in the group. So let me close that. Come back to PowerPoint. So that's a sample household budget. Let's move on. The next important concept is your net worth. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, defines your financial freedom as the length of time you can survive with no income. And that's what you want to do in retirement. You want to survive with no income. So net worth is what you have left over after you've liquidated, sold everything you own, and pay off all of your debts. It's really a direct measure of your financial freedom, and it represents the absolute maximum time you can survive with zero income. How do you get a handle, calculate net worth? Once again, this worksheet is pulled directly off the internet. All you got to do is go out and Google calculate net worth, and you'll find a million things. But what are the things that go into the asset side of net worth? Stocks and bonds, stock funds, bond funds, cash, if you have cash in your savings account, your retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, etc., various annuities that you may have or variable annuities, value of your primary residence, any second or vacation property you might have, any collections you might have, art collections, gun collections, jewelry, etc. And that's your total assets. And then we subtract off the total assets all of your debts, mortgages, home equity loans if you have them, student loans, credit cards, other cars, boats, airplanes, whatever you have for debt. And you subtract the two numbers. Total assets minus total debts equals your net worth. And it's your net worth that really is going to determine your ability to retire. This is the number that wants to be of order $1 million if you want to retire comfortably and you expect to live longer than 65. Now, there's a little chart on there that shows that if you don't have very much net worth, you're not alone. The vast majority of Americans don't have much, and that's a problem that America as a country is facing as we move forward and more of the baby boomers reach retirement age and want to retire and are finding gainful employment as greeters in, is it Walmart or Kmart that hires the older people as greeters? I don't know. But the bottom line is again, as I've said, in order to retire, your net worth needs to be of order $1 million. And that can be the combination of equity in your home and second properties, collections, and collections like gun collections and stamps and stuff, as well as your IRA, your 401k, and etc. And any retirement plan you may have in your job. But it needs to be of that order. Some people might be able to get by on less, but most people are going to probably need more. And once again, you got to recognize, as the health business improves, we're living longer. Life expectancy is closing in on 100 years. So if you think you're going to retire at 65 or 67, you may have to support yourself for 20 or 30 years in retirement. And most of us don't want to move back in with our kids. Besides that, our kids don't have any money either, so they can't support us. So what are we going to do? And Social Security, the chances that it's going to be there are pretty slim. So the other thing to recognize is, over the years, I've often heard people say that they're going to need less money when they retire. When they retire, they don't need as much money. They don't have to dress up for work. They don't have to commute every day. Horse pucky, you need more money when you retire. Remember all those things that you've been putting off for the last 20 years, saying, when I retire, I'm going to do that. You need money to do those things. You want to travel. You want to go to Disneyland with the kids. Whatever you want to do, that stuff costs money. Where's that money going to come from? So here's an interesting chart. If you want to have $1 million in retirement, how much money do you have to save? And this assumes a 6% return rate. If you're 20 years old, you only have to save $360 a month. If you're 60 years old, you got to save $14,000 a month. So it's a good idea to start younger. And the younger you are, the better off you are. Let's talk about the power of compound interest for just a moment. Compound interest was termed the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And compound interest can really help you, but you need time for it to do its magic. So I have a question for you. I'm going to come off the slideshow for just a moment. I have a question. Did you ever hear the story of the father who had two twin boys that were 21 years old? And on their 21st birthday, he gave them an option. And the option was that each boy had the same choice. Each boy could have $1 million in cold hard cash, or he could have a penny. the box. Now, if the child took $1 million in cold hard cash, that was it. He could take his money and he could run. 21 years old, got $1 million in cash. The other possibility was to take the penny. But the penny had a very unique property. The penny was going to double every week or every day, every day for the next period of time. So one boy chose the $1 million. The other boy chose the penny. This could be years, it could be weeks, it could be months. It doesn't matter what the time interval is. At the end of the first time interval, the boy had 2 pennies. Then he had 4. Then he had 8. Then he had 16. And at the end of the week, he had a whole 64 cents. Meanwhile, the other son had his $1 million and he was planning to invest it. He was working on the stock market and he'd gathered up a bunch of advisors and they were looking for the best investments possible. And at the end of 2 weeks, the son that took the pennies had $41. And the other son was still working on what he was going to invest his money in. And finally, he started investing it. But things didn't work out as well as he expected. Some went up, some went down. He had to pay his advisors. But at the end of 3 weeks, the guy with the penny had $10,000, still far shy of the $1 million. But then he had 20,000, and then he had 40, and then he had 80, and then he had 160, and then he had over $1 million. And what this demonstrates is it's just an incredibly interesting little experiment to explain the power of compounding. It takes a long time for compound interest to really work its magic. But if you can wait, it does work its magic. So for example, I don't have the sheet up anymore. We'll forget it. Let's come back to the PowerPoint now. So what to do? Well, the strategy really depends on, your age and your income. If you've got 20 years or more to go and you can start saving now, and I suggest you do, get control of your cash flow, then you can probably build a reasonable retirement account, but you really got to get started. So that means if you're going to retire at 65 and you're in your 40s, 45, then hey, you got a shot at it. But you can't put it off. You can't say next year. There is no such thing. If you got less than 20 years, you've got a big problem. And, some other things you can do are to consider alternative income streams that will result in residual income. This is one of the reasons so many older people look at network marketing as an option. What is residual income? Residual income is money that keeps coming in after you quit working. And the great promise of network marketing is the possibility of residual income. If you work really hard for 3 to 5 years, then sit back and relax and reap the fruits of your labor. Network marketing is a viable alternative. But you've all heard the horror stories. Oh my God, it's a pyramid scheme. Oh, it's illegal. People go to jail. Only people at the top make money. Not everybody makes money. Most people don't make any money, and all that's true. It's not illegal. I'm not going to sell you any network marketing companies tonight. I'm just going to offer it for you to consider if you're older and are in financial difficulty or looking at financial difficulty, because it is another viable alternative to begin to build up some residual income to supplement yourself as you get to your older years. Network marketing is not illegal. It's perfectly viable. It's a perfectly good business model. Robert Kiyosaki's called it the business model for the 21st century. Donald Trump has endorsed it. Many leaders have endorsed it. And yes, a lot of people don't make money, but a few do. And the ones that do aren't necessarily at the top. They're just the ones that work hard and go in with the right objectives, the right training, and the right ideas. So the harsh reality is this: many Americans are not in a position to retire. Pension plans are not secure. Many companies are downsizing and hiring back former employees into part-time positions so they can avoid Social Security and other taxes in order to compete on the world stage. And if you're finding yourself in a financially challenged position, you got to do something. So the first thing I would say you do is get a copy of Tony Robbins' book, The Money Game, and get control of your finances now. Tony suggests you find a fiduciary. I'm not going to attempt to define fiduciary. What I'm going to tell you is this: don't go out and find any old financial planner. Most financial planners aren't qualified to do financial planning. You got to read Tony's book. It's a real eye-opener. And also, if you have a 401k plan, many of the funds that you have in your 401k plan are eating your retirement alive, and you don't realize it. There are hidden fees in the 401ks and what am I trying to say? Not the stocks, but the mutual funds. Some of these mutual funds that claim to be no-load funds have hidden fees in them. You'd be absolutely blown away at how much these companies get away with, and they don't tell you. And the harsh reality is they're draining your money, and they're only draining it a few pennies at a time. But just as the power of compound interest can build a penny to $1 million, it can also take $1 million and decrease it to a penny. If that compound interest happens to be compound fees that are coming out every year, it can be reducing your nest egg far more than you imagine or realize. And then, of course, there's the issue of taxes, too. Long discussion in Tony's book about whether the Roth 401k is the right one, whether you should pay taxes now or postpone them till later. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just going to advise you to get the book and read it. And if you're really in stock, look around for a good MLM, one that you can really embrace, get into it, and start building yourself a little bit of a residual income if you can. And if you need advice about that, we're happy to talk about it. Again, I'm not here to sell anything tonight. So that is the end of the prepared presentation. And if I stop the screen share, we're going to come back to me. Here I am. Okay, back to me. We are back to me. So I see we picked up a couple more people. Let's see. Lou. Hello, Lou. Karen. Hello, Rick. And Ellen, Sandy, Jake. Welcome, everybody. Do you have any questions? Anybody at Walmart? Is there any questions or comments? And Bob, I know you've got something you want to add, right?
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned about the hidden fees. I'm really glad you mentioned about that, because we're gonna have a webinar in one of these days, within a couple of weeks here, where we're gonna talk about all of the hidden fees and alternatives to making money, having 300% more money to retirement. But we'll let you know when that's gonna happen, probably in a couple of weeks.
Well, I was absolutely blown away when I read Tony's book about the impact of hidden fees. I mean, I wasn't aware of it. I thought no-load funds were no-load funds. I thought that you could put your money in these things, and it was nothing is further from the truth. It is amazing what the financial industry has been able to manipulate and keep from people who have their money in these accounts. It is absolutely blow your mind amazing. And I can't recommend, you've read Tony's book, right? You've got it? Yeah, I can't recommend it enough for people that are, especially people that are, 20, 30 years younger and are beginning to think about how they have to position themselves for retirement. And you're putting your money in places now, and you think it's safe, and you think you're immune, and meanwhile, these mutual funds are dribbling your pennies out the back end. And yes, Karen, it is recorded. Al will put the recording up in the, we'll put a link in the group. We put the link in the group. I'll also put those sheets in the group for anyone who wants them.
Yeah, plus hidden fees, not only the hidden fees, but the taxes, like you mentioned, and the risk that's involved. Back in 1998, people lost 48% of their money if it was invested in the stock market. So you got to be careful. You have to be really careful of where you're putting your money. Right.
Yeah, and of course, the older you get and the less money you have to put, the more careful you got to be.
Right.
And and you know, I mean, I personally, I fall into the category. I mean, many people know me, some don't, but Satara, hello. Satara, you're a little late here, but it's all right. It's recorded. I mean, I had all of my money invested in California Flight Academy when the bottom came out in 2008. And as people who know me and know my story know, by 2011, I was destitute, penniless. I mean, basically lost everything. So, I mean, it's possible. And those of you who know how old I am know what the impact of that is. I'm not going to tell you here. If you don't know, it's all right. You don't need to know tonight.
He doesn't act his age, though.
Let's just say that I'm in an MLM. And I'm rebuilding myself, and I'm doing several other things.
And I want to make another distinction, too, Len, between network marketing, between residual income and passive income. Now,
Right.
passive income is when you can set something up, and then the money's going to keep coming in regardless. That would be something like rental property or like vending machines or something. Now, network marketing, we have to remember the word work. You know, the word work. A lot of people don't. They think of network marketing. They're gonna do it for a couple of years and then sit back and collect. But don't forget the word work and network. It's something that you have to keep working at it. You have to keep improving and making sure you grow your team. So it's not a just make it and then sit back and let the money come rolling in. You have to continue to work at it.
Well, we call it work from home for a reason.
It's work. Don't forget the word work.
Don't put the word work in there. It's work from home. Yeah, Rick Johnson says it's harder to get a massage license than it is to become a financial advisor. Yeah, that's right, Rick. That's right. And you can hang up a shingle as a financial advisor with little or no qualifications at all. It's just absolutely mind blowing what these people can get away with. And you know, your hairstylist, the person who cuts your hair, has more training a lot more training than some of these other people do. It's just absolutely amazing. So I don't see a lot more comments coming in. If we're done, we're done. I hope you got value. I hope you learned something tonight. If you're not on the road to financial freedom, I would encourage you strongly to begin to take some of this stuff seriously. Because, you know, one of these days you're going to be 65 and you're going to want money. You're going to want to do things. And the other thing about the keep on working model is that sooner or later, your health is going to fail. Sooner or later, the work is not going to be viable. You won't be able to keep on working. And then what are you going to do? God knows I'm not moving back in with my kids. So anyhow,
He'll just come with me.
Oh no, Bob, we're on the road. We are on the road. We're leading the way. We're on the road. We're going to make it happen. There's just no question about that. I'm very comfortable and confident in that.
I mean, I'm talking about if you get sick, you break your hip again or something.
Yeah, that too. Okay. So at any rate, if no one else has any questions, comments, and suggestions, I hope you got value. Let me know if you did. I'd love to know what you thought. It helps me. If you didn't get value, that helps me too. If you thought it was all bunk, that helps me too. Then I know what not to do again. Okay? So let me know. Constructive criticism is always welcome. And that's it. I guess we're gonna
let me inside of our group, just let us know if you have any questions, or because every day we post a little video. Either we take turns. Len posts one, I post one, and then we post the daily activities for that day. I just want to stress the importance of doing those daily activities. Now there's a few days. Now here me and Len are running this program. And there's a few days that I missed myself, and here I'm supposed to be on top of that. So but it's okay. You can go back. Forgive yourself. As part of one of our daily activities is to forgive yourself. If you miss a day, that's okay. Just come back. But it's about creating a habit of doing something every single day. Tony Robbins talks about making a ritual. So if you do something every single day, it becomes you. So just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Put money into your financial freedom account. Like I have my little fishbowl thing here where I put money in every single day, no matter what. But it's just creating a habit. So do it. And if you have any suggestions or comments, just put them inside of a group. And because we're all in this thing together, we're all going to help each other to help stay accountable and help each other grow. And it's all about just getting better.
Okay, and I think it's my turn to put up the video tomorrow morning, isn't it, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so I will. It'll be up. Should be up before 7 tomorrow morning.
Day 13 tomorrow.
It is day 13. You're right. Alrighty then. That's it. I'm going to kill the broadcast. Here we go. Going once. Going twice.